Thanks everyone for being here. We're delighted you were able to join us for this webinar. As Aidan mentioned, my name is Michael Willis. I'm the director of the Executive Master of Accounting program at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School. So I want to start by introducing you to the program with just sort of a quick executive summary of what this is all about, and then I'll go into some more detail on some of the key elements of the program. So if you're sort of wondering what is an Executive Master of Accounting, the short answer is it's a leadership program for experienced professionals in accounting and related or adjacent fields. And I'll say quite a lot more about what that means. But this program is unique. There really isn't anything quite like this in the world. And I'll be walking you through today why that is, what need that fills, and what the program is going to do for you. The program is designed to support a number of career paths that lead to leadership positions. So this program is about improved decision-making, improved leadership, improved data analytics skills. And so career paths like a CFO career path or a partner career path or data related or sustainability related career paths. Our students and alumni have all progressed and accelerated along these types of career paths. The program is part-time, so it's delivered in 8 residential weeks in Cambridge over 2 years. The curriculum is innovative, it's new, it's industry relevant, it's timely, it's continuously updated. You'll be plugging into a network that's globally and professionally diverse. And now let's jump into the detail on the program. So I want to start with what do you learn in the program, and how does this support your career acceleration? So the program really has 3 sort of curriculum pillars, and the modules that we cover really fall into these 3 groups. There's accounting leadership, people and organizations, and data analytics. So I want to spend a good amount of time here walking you through what I mean by these curriculum areas and give you some examples of some of the modules that we cover in each of these 3 areas. So let's start with accounting leadership. So this curriculum area encompasses modules that are related to accounting, by which I mean information that's useful for decision making, broadly speaking, but delivered from a leadership perspective, a strategic perspective, and a decision maker perspective. Okay, so this is not a debits and credits program. It's not a pre-qualification program. It's not designed to help you pass the chartered accountancy examinations or the CPA exam. This is about decision-making, innovation, and leadership. So let me explain what that looks like in the context of accounting. So 3 example modules here from the accounting leadership area, and all the modules from the program are listed and described on the program website. So after the webinar, you can take a closer look. But I'll just introduce you to a few of them here. So the first one is strategic performance management. And this is essentially how do we use information inside of the firm for essentially to support an organization's mission and its strategy. And this would touch on things like budgeting and investment. It would touch on incentives, compensation, reward systems. It would touch on what is mission and strategy in the first place. How do we measure things? How do we gather data? How do we use that data around the organization? Okay, and there's actually 2 modules related to strategic performance management. This is highly applied. How do you use data better inside of the organization for decision making? Second module that I wanted to highlight here is called global financial reporting. So this would be the financial accounting side. And this module is designed in a very unique way. So this module covers some of the most ambiguous, challenging areas of financial reporting and financial accounting. And but the perspective is not just what do the standards say, but why are the standards written like they are? And so this class, this module is typically co-taught. We have two module leaders for this one. Alan Jagalinzer, who's professor here in the accounting group, and Kumar Dasgupta, who is a former technical Big Four accounting partner and also a former technical director at the International Accounting Standards Board. And so between the two of them, they bring this complementary experience into the why behind accounting standards and why they are the way they are. This type of understanding really deepens deepens your understanding as a practitioner, as a preparer, as an issuer of financial statements, as an auditor, providing assurance around financial statements, and also puts you in a position to be an advocate for improved financial reporting standards, participating in the standard setting process, which is a consultative process around the world. So this module is quite unique, and it's a different way of teaching financial reporting that I haven't seen other places, and it's one of the strongest reviewed or favorite modules of our students, whether they're very familiar with accounting standards or whether they're not so familiar with accounting standards. Another module from this area of accounting leadership is sustainability. So I lead that module, and that module is about sustainability and sustainability reporting, which is an area that's developed really rapidly over the past 5 to 7 years, but it's doing so in sort of a somewhat chaotic manner, I would say, around the world. And so this module is about what can sustainability reporting be expected to accomplish, what's expected in different areas of the world with regards to sustainability reporting. How do you implement this in an organization? How do you use this information? How do you consume this information? So we approach this from both the supply side of information and also from the demand side of information. And that's one of those modules that changes all the time as these reporting requirements change as well. Okay, so again, this is accounting leadership. It's very practical, it's very applied, it's accounting issues from the strategy, leadership, policy perspective. Another module that fits into to this curriculum area is what we call the Critical Issues in Accounting Speaker Series. And that's a module that with a rotating topic, a new topic every year. And so we choose a topic for the year's speaker series, and we have an entire day set aside where we bring in guest speakers who are experts in the area to have a really deep dive into a timely topic. So our most recent speaker series, which we ran just a couple of months ago, was on the topic of disinformation and how disinformation is used by bad actors in the areas of politics or in the areas of business, in the areas of finance and accounting, and how to understand the elements of disinformation and how to take steps to protect an organization from disinformation. We've also had speaker series topics on AI in the world of accounting, on ESG investing, on cryptocurrency and blockchain. So this is something that is a chance for our students to come together with world experts on a particularly timely and relevant topic, and that's the Critical Issues in Accounting speaker series. Okay, so I want to move on to the second curriculum area now, which I call People and Organizations. As you know, I assume that many of you have a few years of experience in your areas of expertise, and you've likely found that your technical training, you may have started out as in accounting or in finance or in economics or something else in a more technical capacity, and you've probably found as time goes on that your effectiveness as a leader and your ability to accelerate your career and to really get things done depends in a large part and in an increasing part as you go through your career on your ability to interact favorably with people. And so, this people and organizations curriculum area is where we train these kinds of skills that are necessary for this part of your sort of skill portfolio. So, a couple of example modules from this topic area. One is change leadership. Okay, so the one of the principles on which the program is based is that change is needed. The world needs to change. Organizations need to change. Groups need to change. People need to change. Leading change initiatives is one of the most difficult things to do as a leader and as a manager. Um, so this module starts with an understanding of why that is. Why is change and change initiatives so difficult? And as you're sitting here thinking about your own experience, my guess is that you've probably seen maybe more than one change initiative that's failed in your organization. And you may have a list of reasons why you think that may have happened. But sometimes, when we're not behind the scenes, we don't necessarily understand exactly why a change initiative might have failed to meet its objectives. But in this module, we draw on some frameworks from psychology, from organizational behavior, even from political science to understand architectures of power, of change, why change initiatives fail, why they succeed. And so you'll come away here, I think, with some concrete tools for when you're in the position of significant influence and can lead these change initiatives. And this doesn't have to be in an organization level. It could be a change initiative inside of your group or inside of your team. So it's not that this has to be a sort of a large scale, tens of thousands of employees sort of level. I think these principles apply on multiple scales, but you'll come away with some concrete steps and frameworks to approach and implement change initiatives. So I want to play a video from one of our alumni who is from Brazil, and in his project for the change leadership module, he decided he wanted to focus on a nonprofit that he had started in Brazil, which is a nonprofit that was designed to prepare poor students from underserved areas of Brazil for university entrance exams. Okay, so this is a social mobility educational endeavor. So he was applying the tools and frameworks from change leadership to his nonprofit work. So let me just play this video of Jose.
My project is called Formadores de Futuro, which is a social project focused in students, low-income students that lives in favelas in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And 2 years ago, when I joined the MAC program, I had a class called Change Management, where we were challenged to build up a project of our interest. We had to structure a project or an idea, and the professor gave us like a structure to fill, like an agenda. You should create a schedule of which process are you doing and how you're gonna do and what you're gonna need, what resources you're gonna need. So by feeling this, at the end of the class, I thought to myself, okay, I have my whole project here, just need to implement it. All of the students come from the favela, which means they usually studied in public schools, and public education in Brazil right now is very, very bad. So they wouldn't have a chance to do well in the college entrance exam. So what we do basically is help them to support them in this exam so they can have a chance to get in college. And right now we have like around 70–80% of acceptance rate of our students in college, which is a huge victory for the project. And our students are now coming back as teachers for the project. And beside all that, we are creating a sense of community inside our project. What the program has provided me is much more than that, like being able to create this project and to reach out people and impact their lives and some behavioral changes on me as well. This is the real result of the program, and I would never thought about this before doing it.
So, a couple of things I really like about this story. The very last thing that Jose said, I wouldn't have thought about this if it weren't for this program and it weren't for this module. And I think that to me is the most important objective of this program, is to inspire and equip our students to do things and have impact that they wouldn't otherwise have done. So that's a bit about change leadership. Another module that falls under this area of people and organizations is what we call interpersonal dynamics, and this is something that we've developed. That's an experiential communications and emotional intelligence laboratory experience. Essentially, that sounds kind of vague and nebulous, but the objectives of this program, of this module, I should say, are to help our students understand how they tend to interact with a human system of people, how their emotions and portrayal and communication of those emotions interact with those of others in a human system, power dynamics in human systems and how communications, styles, and strategies are related to those power dynamics. And a really, really important one is trust. Where does trust come from in a human system? How is trust built in a human system? And how is trust eroded in a human system and potentially rebuilt? So this is a very, very applied, practical exercise designed to strengthen our students' ability to understand, interact with people, building on this idea of emotional intelligence. So it can be a little bit uncomfortable and stretching for some students to take this really kind of introspective inventory of how they feel they're perceived by others versus, you know, how they are actually perceived by others. But understanding this and getting feedback on this on these areas is really important for your effectiveness in relating with other people. And this is of course, this is in the context of professional communications and professional relationships, but a lot of students find that thinking about their interactions, the frameworks that we use to think about interactions, really extend onto personal relationships as well, and all of their interactions with people. This is really, this is sort of a fundamental piece of the sort of micro level interacting with people and organizations, and that's interpersonal dynamics. Okay, the third curriculum area that I want to touch on, highlight today is data analytics. And, that's one of those terms that has a lot of different meanings, I suppose, but here's what I mean by data analytics. I mean using data and computational techniques to generate and answer relevant questions and to automate or improve tasks and decisions and decision making. So that's quite broad. So let me make this more concrete, give you some examples, and talk about how we approach the teaching of data analytics in the Cambridge Executive Master of Accounting program. So I have here boxes and arrows that describe a type of data analytics process. Now, this makes it look like the process is linear and sequential. It's not always like that. And data-related projects can be iterative, they can be circular, they can be messy. And if you've been involved in this type of project, you know that. But for the sake of discussion, I want to represent the process in this way. We have questions. We have questions we'd like to answer inside of the organization. It could be things like, how risky is this loan? Or are there potentially fraudulent transactions this period? Or a causal question. We're observing some type of phenomenon, and we'd like to explain it. We'd like to understand why this thing is happening. So, for example, we are having increased employee attrition. What's causing that? These are really different types of questions, but they're just a few types of really research questions, actually, that might be asked inside of an organization. So this is sort of the first step to me in this data analytics process. It's really not always the first step, but it's an important first step, let's say, is coming up with some type of research question. Then we need some data to try to answer this question. And the world of data is massive, of course, and data available to an organization. There's maybe quite a lot of data available to an organization. Some of it might be difficult to work with. Some of it might be dirty data, questionable data. Some of it might be interesting but not relevant to our question. So there's an interplay here between question and data, right? We could have questions we'd love to answer, but we don't have the data. We could have data that's really interesting, and we may generate questions coming off of that data set. So we could have data that's very sort of well-behaved tabular data like transactions. We could have non-financial data. We could have survey data. We could decide that we need to go do a survey to gather the data. We could get data from other sources, from social media, from scraping whatever website. We could merge all this stuff together to get our data. And if you've worked in data projects, you might have some PTSD about this step, which tends to be the most time-consuming, laborious, difficult, tedious step in a data analytics process. Okay, so we've got some question, we've got some data that we'd like to use to answer the question. The next step is to do some analysis on the data and interpret the analysis of the data. And that can run from things like data visualization to something more mathematical, and that might involve statistical inference, like a hypothesis test or a regression. It might involve more advanced computational techniques like machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, natural language processing if we're working with text data or we're working with video or audio data. So we choose some analysis, and then this is really key, is interpretation of the results of the analysis. And actually this box here and these steps that I've combined into this box are really crucial to the data analytics process, and it's often a pain point. It's often a problem in data science and data analytics projects. Is actually the analysis bit is fairly straightforward to conduct and implement, but it's not necessarily straightforward to understand and interpret, especially when we have experts with technical expertise who might not grasp the strategy and business issues. So this is a key area where we're trying to build sort of a bridge in our students, is to be able to understand better the analytical techniques to ultimately interpret the output of those techniques and take some action. And that's the last box, is take some action, make some decision based on the results of this analysis and interpretation. Of course, that touches on all the other areas of the curriculum, including change, leadership, and all of this stuff. Okay, so this is sort of the data analytics world that we cover in the Executive Master of Accounting program. Of course, AI and large language models have really exploded in use over the last 5 years or so, and so we bring in content as well that's designed to help you understand what's going on underneath these models. What's the algorithmic architecture of these models, so that you can understand their strengths and limitations, that you can understand where they might be headed and implications for your organization. So just to give you a better idea of how we do this in the program, you can think of graduate programs or educational programs around data analytics on a spectrum of technical detail. So on the left of this graph, we have maybe an executive program that's like maybe it's a week-long or a 3-day program in data analytics or in AI. It would probably have relatively low technical detail. It would be designed to give you an overview of the technologies, some high-level intuition, maybe some, if the focus is on a large language model, it's maybe talking about prompts and working with the tools in an effective way. On the far right of the spectrum, we have more the programs with more technical detail. So something like a master's in data science or a master's in data analytics that would be designed to prepare people for full-time data analysis roles. So lots of statistics and maths and lots of programming and lots of data work. In the middle is where we position the Cambridge Executive MAC program. And our goal is not to train full-time technicians in data science, but it is to go beyond the high-level intuition, because that will make our students more effective leaders and managers and consumers of analytics and AI technology. So our students do learn to write a little bit of code in Python so that they can implement predictive analytics algorithms. We assume zero coding knowledge, and we have a very gentle ramp up into the coding bit of the program. Well, we do a module on data visualization where we use Tableau, where we talk about using data visualization to explore data sets and also to tell a story, to explain, to get a point across very quickly visually. We talk about the elements of good visualization and how to use those depending on what the task is. And we cover more advanced technologies like regression, neural networks, blockchain, things like this in our analytics curriculum. But again, the emphasis here is on improved leadership, improved decision-making, on practical tools that students can use right away in their roles. Okay, I wanted to highlight another area of the program. This doesn't necessarily fit into one of those curriculum areas, because it's sort of a capstone project, if you will, in the program that we call the Team Consulting Project. So this happens in the second year of the program, and students work in groups. They source a consulting project with an external client. They scope the project with assistance from a faculty mentor. They do the work for the client and deliver the project. And so we've had students, really this depends on what students are interested in and what clients are interested in students doing. A lot of these projects have had a more strategic, more of a strategic flavor to them. We've had some projects, however, that have a more technical flavor to them. It just depends on, again, interest and demand from clients. But here are a few examples of some recent clients and projects that our students have worked with. One is the epidermolysis bullosa research partnership. So this is a venture philanthropy organization that has a unique business model where its mission is to find a cure for a rare disease. So this is a disease that is a horrible, tragic disease that tends to afflict young people and children. But because it's relatively rare, it doesn't attract the funding and resources that other more widespread diseases do. So this organization has a unique business model that's trying to work towards a cure for this type of disease. So our students did a pretty strategic project for this client, advising on potential future avenues and interactions with donors and things like this. Another client is an organization called TIE, which is run out of Tanzania. That is a group of animators that develops animations that are educational, so that have to do with health and hygiene and language and things like this. That project was also sort of a strategic look at revenue streams and operations and paths forward. Another project, recent client was Willow, which is an organization, for-profit organization that manufactures water pumps and water technologies. That was also a more strategic sort of look at elements of strategy inside of the organization. We've also had projects that have been more focused on building models, building predictive models, building financial models. We've had valuation-based projects. We've had projects based around measurement and KPI structures and things like this. This is, again, an opportunity for students to synthesize what they've learned to have an impact, tangible impact on clients. So that's what the program does, and I hope you've got a feeling for how that differs from other programs and why this is unique and what we intend to do here. A really quick, just a couple of words about the format of the program. The program is 2 years. It's a part-time program, so students keep working while they do the program. There are 8 residential weeks in Cambridge spread out over 2 years. So roughly once a quarter, the students all come to Cambridge for a week of in-person sessions. Usually we cover 2 to 3 modules in a residential week. So those weeks are very busy, they're very interactive, the sessions are engaging, we do lots of debate, lots of discussion, lots of case studies. We also have dinners with the students at Cambridge colleges. We bring in guest speakers throughout the week. And those residential weeks are really the centerpiece of the program. We also have online engagement with the students leading up to and between those residential weeks. Okay, so let's say they have a residential week where there are 2 modules that we're going to deliver. In the 6 or so weeks leading up to that residential week, students will be working through online content to prepare for the residential portion of those modules. So they'll be working through case studies, doing some discussions online, and that's all asynchronous material that students can consume on their own timeline when they find the time to do so to prepare for the residentials. And our students typically find that if they can plan to spend on average 5 to 10 hours of work a week preparing for the residential weeks, they'll be well prepared. And then following a residential week, then there's assessment period where students complete the assessments for the modules. So that's the structure and format of the program. So of course, as you know, a crucial part of any program is the network and the career path that the program is designed to support. So just to give you an idea of what you'll be plugging into and how that's going to facilitate your career acceleration. The program is smaller than many programs. I would expect that in our 2026 cohort that we enroll, probably have 25 to 30 students in that cohort. Most of our students typically have sort of 8 to 15 years of postgraduate work experience, but we do have students with more, we do have students with less. Um, a common question is, do I need to know accounting? Do I need to be an accountant? And the answer is no. This program has a lot to offer to chartered accountants, qualified accountants, CPAs. If you have a strong background in accounting, you'll find this program complements that training and prepares you for the next step in your career progression. However, if you're thinking, well, I don't really know accounting, this program has a lot to offer you as well. You'll come up to speed more on some of the, again, more ambiguous or thorny areas of financial reporting, how to align measurement and internal reporting with strategy and mission of an organization, and all of the leadership decision-making, people and organizations skills that will also round out what you've been doing in your career. So there's a lot of value here for people with a strong accounting background and people who haven't had a strong accounting background. And we've had students with no accounting background, and every cohort has students with no accounting background. They may have a little bit of work to do to come up to speed in the basics, but we support that, and students have been successful in that part of the curriculum as well. So usually 50 to 60% of a typical cohort has some kind of strong, accounting qualification, but we have students that come out of a corporate finance background, from consulting, entrepreneurship, from law, public policy, even IT engineering. So we have a professionally diverse group of students. The cohort is also always very globally diverse, students from all over the world, which is a real strength of a program like this. So you plug into this global, professionally diverse network through the Executive MAC program. You'll plug into the Judge Business School and the broader Cambridge networks. And we have alumni events going on all over the world, and alumni chapters in cities all over the world that you can connect with. So we've designed the program to support some career paths. CFO is a really common career path that we see our students have. They see themselves on that type of path, and we've designed the program to support a career path like a pre-CFO or CFO career path. Also, partnership track, data or related roles, or sustainability roles, policy and regulatory roles as well. The program serves to advance our students on those types of career trajectories. So we're going to take Q&A in just a moment, but I hope that, if you want to connect with us, learn a bit more about the program, kind of take the next step. Of course, you can apply, apply to the program anytime. But you can also engage in a profile review. So if you go to the program homepage, there's an option there to sort of do a pre-application connection with us, so we can give you some feedback on applying to the program. A lot of potential applicants really like that sort of pre-application step to just get a little more personalized feedback on your application to the program. Also, if you're based in London, I will be there on the 11th of September and doing one-on-one meetings around in London. If you'd like to connect then on the 11th of September, you can go to the events section of our website, and we can arrange a time to meet in London to talk about your own background and get a little bit more conversation about the program. So we have some time now for some questions. I'll unshare my screen here.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike. And thanks to everyone who's been posting the questions. We really appreciate all of these ones coming through. It's an interesting question that maybe we can kick off with, Mike, was just for someone who maybe studied their CPA or studied accounting quite a few years ago and have now been climbing up their career ladder and are a senior finance leader. Are they going to be able to keep up with this program if it's been a while? Maybe they've forgotten some of the basics that they learned in their more practical training all those years ago.
Do you know, I think that's a great question. And I think the answer is absolutely yes. And the benefit here is that you'll get an update on sort of what's going on in the world of financial reporting, because standard setting and standards are always changing. Implementations are always changing, interpretations are changing. So you'll come away with a really timely update of what's new. You'll come away with a refresher on, again, what are the most ambiguous, thorny areas of financial reporting. And I think, that background, even if it's 10, 15, however many years ago, it'll serve you well. And you'll come away with a really nice complementary training that gives you an update, that gives you that really prepares you, because your role as, say, you're preparing to step into a CFO, a CFO role. You're going to be delegating most of the day to day, of course, right, of financial reporting, but you're ultimately responsible for the financial statements that you release to stakeholders. And so it is important that you have top of mind what are the thorniest areas, the most complex areas of financial reporting that I need to stay on top of. And I think that the program absolutely delivers that.
Amazing, great. And you shared a bit about the content, the course, but maybe you could just give a little bit more information about the faculty, the people that teach this program, who delivers this program. There's a few questions around who are the teachers. Are there any speakers from industry? And you mentioned some really interesting information around data analytics. But if you could just share more about who helps you to deliver this program.
That's great. That's great. So we draw on faculty from around the Judge Business School. So we have faculty from the accounting group that deliver a number of modules on the program. We also have faculty in data science, in organizational behavior, in governance, who deliver various modules. For example, our predictive analytics module is taught by Professor David Stillwell, who is also the head of the Psychometrics Center here at the Judge Business School. So his research has to do with using data to assess personality traits. And he's published quite a lot in that area, but his area of expertise is much broader and works really closely with AI and machine learning. And in fact, he was one of the sort of very early on, when large language models became popular a few years ago. He was one of the early adopters of bringing that technology into the classroom, and rather than sort of pushing it aside and saying students don't use that, it was more, let's use this together to help you write your code, and also understand why it is helping you write your code and why sometimes it can't help you write your code. And so you come away with this understanding of how the models work in a much richer and much better way. So we draw on a diverse group of faculty. We also, from time to time, will bring in external faculty to deliver modules. As I mentioned earlier, Global Financial Reporting, which is co-taught with Alan Jagalan to Kumar Dasgupta, who's an external faculty. And of course, we bring in guest speakers in various modules and in the speaker series. Let's see, the last residential, for example, in one of my modules, I invited a gentleman he's now a retired partner, but he's a senior partner at Big Four and other consulting firms in restructuring. He's also been a CFO who was able to share a lot of stories and a lot of insight from working in the field of restructuring. He has a lot of insight into, things that have gone badly and why they went badly, but also on his CFO side and on the advisory side of how to make things go better. So it's a very sort of, how do you create value in a finance related position, particularly CFO, pre-CFO. So that's just an example of a recent guest speaker, but we bring them in, we bring in experts, and we say guest speaker, but really it's a guest interaction because we want our students to be prepared for the sessions, to challenge the speaker, to really bring an interactive experience. That's much richer.
Amazing. And you've fortunately answered one of the other questions that came through around how and what is our approach to AI and bringing it into the classroom. So I think that example that you gave from Professor David Stilwell was really valuable for that question as well. There's another question here that's really interesting, just asking for a bit more information around the noticeable career outcomes for participants that have completed this program. And I myself was speaking to one of the alums just the other day who's based in the US, who's an entrepreneur, a tech and manufacturing entrepreneur, and he'd completed an MBA before and he did this program, and he said that this program at Cambridge really helped him as he was preparing to raise investment and getting funding for his startup. So that was a really interesting career outcome that I've seen. And obviously we have a few CFOs, but yeah, do you have any comment on the kind of the real career outcomes that you've seen from this program, the impact that it's had?
So yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few bits to the answer to this question. One is, it's very, very common for students to take what they learn in the program and apply it immediately in their role. That's by design, that's the intent of the program. And that's one of the advantages to a part-time program, is that you can learn something on Friday and apply it on Monday. So that's tangible, quick, short-term impact. Now, building that over time is what generates longer-term career impact. Okay, so that's one bit, which is what you learn in the classroom and what you're doing with it. The second bit here is, it's very common for students to change roles and improve their roles during the program. So we see that quite a lot. We see students delivering value, and and employers seeing that. And then in the longer term, these effects build over time. The network that you plug in, generates acceleration. We have a really strong, close-knit alumni group. We stay in touch, and there's always sort of exchange of job opportunities and hey, I need advice on this thing. So the community build is very, very important to us, and that's a key strength for career advancement going forward.
Amazing, great. There's another great question that's come through, which is just what background or characteristics are you looking for in a successful applicant?
Good question. So the most important, I think the most important attribute of a successful applicant is the evidence of impact you've had in your career. It doesn't matter if you have experience as an auditor or tax preparer or a strategy consultant or a banker. That the nature of the experience is not nearly as important as the impact you've had. And we've had the successful alumni from more traditional accounting roles, from banking, from consulting, but also from nonprofit, from government, from entrepreneurship. So I would say that my advice to applicants would be, take some time to reflect on your experience, and when you write your essays, be honest and be authentic and write about something you care about. The essays that we ask you to write have to do with change. They both have to do with change, because that's a fundamental pillar and theme that we weave throughout the program. So we want to understand your attitude towards change, your experience with working for change. And so, yeah, just tell us who you are through those stories that you tell about your experience. When you go to get recommendation letters, it's not as important to us the title of the person giving the recommendation, although we do, we will need to see something from a current or former supervisor, but someone who can speak to your track record of impact is the most powerful, signal from a recommender. And again, everyone's personal situation is different. And so that's why we offer these profile reviews, these opportunities to meet in person, so we can have a conversation about, what your background is, how and why it might be a fit or might not be a fit, and how to go forward with an application that might be best at telling us who you are.
Amazing. Yeah, we will send out the links to everyone so everyone can book in a profile review Yeah, I strongly echo that recommendation to make the most of that. There's a practical question that's just come through in terms of the residentials. So just how many days should they expect to actually come to Cambridge and spend here during a residential? Is it more than a week? Is it a week long? What is it like during the week?
It's typically Monday through Friday is the residential. So most of our students come to Cambridge, travel on the weekend, spend the residential week here, travel the weekend back, and then get back to work. The Monday through Friday, the modules are usually run about 9 to 5 or 5:30 in the evening. We usually have one college dinner, so all the students in the program are admitted to one of the Cambridge colleges, which the sort of the lovely picturesque architecture that Cambridge is famous for. And so we get together at one of those colleges for a dinner with our students during the residential week. Most of the evenings, however, are free. So students spend time together, going to dinner, etc. Other students use the evenings to catch up on work from their job, or to continue or deepen their preparation for the next day or subsequent days residential. But then Friday evening, then students sort of begin traveling back to where they are. So that's kind of how the residential weeks unfold.
Amazing, great. I know we're running out of time. We tried to keep this to less than 45 minutes. We've gone over a bit. There's a question around the team projects, team consulting project, end of program. Like, what is the value that students can get out of working and learning from their classmates? Is there a lot of independent work or group work? How does that work?
Yeah, so throughout the program, there's a balance of individual work and group work. It's mostly individual assessment throughout the program and most modules. But students are organized into study groups, and there's lots of support going on among the groups. Some of the modules do have more group work or group assessments. The team consulting project is particularly intense group work because it's all working in groups. So we feel like it's important to have this balance between individual, again, weighted towards individual assessments. The team consulting project is unique because it's essentially a module in itself, right? And so that's kind of the only module the students have going on during that period, so that they can dedicate the time to working through this task. It's up to them to sort of bring the structure to the project and define the work and execute it. So it's sort of a more open-ended module and assessment for sure, but there are things that you can learn through that process that you can't learn other ways. And so it's everybody works in groups in their jobs, but stepping away and doing that in the academic setting, where the academic deliverable is the learning, you come away with some experiences that will strengthen your team working abilities professionally.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing those insights, and thanks to everyone who's been posting these excellent questions. We really appreciate your time, Mike, for sharing, and we appreciate everybody who's joined the session today. We didn't get to all of the questions, so please do email us, stay in contact with the school, book in a profile review you haven't done yet, book in a coffee chat in London. Please do stay connected, and we'll be happy to guide you along on your journey towards Cambridge. But for now, I think we need to end the session here. But thank you so much, Mike, for sharing today, and thanks to all of the attendees for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you all soon here in Cambridge. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.